What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 0 Mile ADV, a true beginner's guide to adventure motorcycling. The internet is an interesting place. I say that at the beginning of every video, and I think on one of my videos about the Honda, some guy commented, because I think I talked about wrecking and I always wrecked the bike or something, and he was like, "What, are you just not a good rider?" No, exactly. It's like the point of these videos, like I'm a beginner, I'm not new, so no, I wouldn't consider myself like a good, excellent rider. So anyways, the internet is an interesting place. Today we're going to talk all about why I started riding in the first place. It is winter. There's not a lot going on. Even out here, I have to in the desert, you have to be kind of, at least the desert of Colorado, because it does snow out here. I have to be kind of sparse with my riding and choose my days wisely, because it can turn into some crazy gnarly mud and you don't want to get stuck back here. So with that, I figured I would tell you a little bit of a backstory, why I started riding, some initial challenges I had to overcome, and hopefully if you're new, you can learn from them too, and you'll keep riding and be excited about riding. So with that, let's get into it. So interesting fact, did you know that riding a motorcycle on a dirt road, like an ADV, full-size ADV bike, probably even actually more with a full-size ADV bike because it's a lot more bike to control, you're gonna, in a 3-hour dirt road ride, so if you go out for a morning or an afternoon ride, you're gonna burn anywhere from 900 to 1600 calories. That's a lot. So if anybody ever asks, maybe your wife's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't buy so many motorcycles. Current problem in my life, you should say it's for my health, so it's good for me. I'm out there burning calories while I'm having fun. So anyways, all right, so let's get into my motorcycle riding journey. As a kid, I didn't really ride a lot. I was always really interested in motorsports. I really loved motorcycles. I actually grew up in this small mountain community that was kind of like an hour from town, and I had a friend who had moved up there temporarily. I think his parents could handle it, but they had a lot of land and they had dirt bikes. And I remember going up there and his dad's like, "Oh, do you want to ride dirt bikes?" And it was like, still to this day, I will never forget that day. Just like they were kind of up on top of the hill, so they had a meadow and a few acres, and it was just like looping around the fence. And I did not want to get off that thing. There was one point where it was like getting so dark and like, you guys got to come inside. And I just did not want to get off. I remember it was so much fun. And so I've always had an interest in motorcycles. And as I got older, a lot of my friends, actually a really good friend of mine was into sport bikes. And then I had some other good friends, they were twins, they had sport bikes. And actually, interesting story, I never got my license because I didn't have enough money to buy a motorcycle. I barely had enough money to pay for the insurance of my car. So I couldn't afford a motorcycle, but my friends had them, and I was like, one of them was like, "Oh, just take it out, hey, have fun." We were working at a car dealership together. So I just went around the block and a cop pulled up behind me, and I made some mistake somewhere and I didn't have a motorcycle license, and he must have known it because I was so terrible at riding. And I got a ticket for riding a motorcycle without a license. And I remember my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, she was so furious because she hates motorcycles. I think she's okay with it now so much that I'm more into the dirt thing. Not like street bikes where it's kind of a death wish, but yeah, so it was I've always really enjoyed motorcycles. And then as I've gotten older and I've become more had more financial means and tried to build the life I've always dreamed of. I remember we were coming back camping from a cool town called Crested Butte, and I saw a pack of adventure riders come off a trail, and then they came out on the highway, and then there was a bunch of traffic, so we just kind of followed them for a long time, and I was like, I want to do that. That looks awesome. And also in high school, I had Jeeps and all that sort of stuff, and so the adventure thing immediately caught my eye, there's kind of Jeep versions of motorcycles, and I didn't really know, at the time I didn't know anything about motorcycles. I didn't really know what brands, I didn't know anything. So that night it really kind of kicked off my journey, and I started going down a YouTube rabbit hole. And it was kind of looking back on that moment, it was I learned so much from so many creators like Big Rock Moto, Dork in the Road, some of these other guys, just about motorcycles in general, that I was I want to help somebody who's new like me answer all the questions that I had when I started digging into it. And from that moment on, I pretty much haven't stopped, which has been a few years now. And I just really have fallen in love with it. And they're so much fun. And it's really a skill I'm trying to learn and adapt. And it's been absolutely amazing. So after doing a bunch of research, I actually did a whole video on this. If you haven't seen this, it's one of my first videos. And it was why I decided to purchase the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S for my first adventure bike. So I won't go into all of those details again, because there's a whole video about that. But I basically had decided to purchase the motorcycle before I had my license, and I had finally found the bike. I looked at it. I didn't get to test ride it because I didn't have my license, but I was pretty sure that that was what I wanted, just sitting on a bunch of bikes in different showrooms. And I went to my motorcycle class, and I remember being my motorcycle safety class, and I remember like getting there and I was so nervous. And at this point I'm a full-grown adult, like I'm a full-grown man, and I was like nervous to get there. And even the basic just like clutch movement, skill that you're doing, like when you kind of learn to like just feel the clutch and like roll on the clutch, that whole process, and then as I got more comfortable, and then like learning just riding around a parking lot for 3 days was so much fun. Like it really brought me back to that childhood memory of riding dirt bikes with my friend at the time in elementary school, just like lapping the fence that night and never wanting to get off. It was so much fun. Again, I was completely hooked, and I remember just like being so nervous and then going to my class and having so much fun just like riding around a parking lot. And that's why I've always said on this video, especially if you're a beginner, adventure motorcycling is whatever adventure it is for you. For me, an adventure was riding around the parking lot, and it was a lot of fun, and it made me excited about my motorcycle, and I wanted to ride it, and I wanted to do it more. And then just riding around the neighborhood or exploring some of the housing neighborhoods around town, just because there's no traffic and I felt safe, like that was an adventure and that was fun. So never feel tempted to get, to do a BDR or to go ride the gnarliest dirt track, or do some big cross-country journey or go around the world or whatever. If you want to do those things, absolutely go for it and set those goals and do it. But if you're new and you want to start riding, and just for you, again, having an adventure is going around, riding through the neighborhood because you're new, and going and grabbing an amazing cup of coffee, like do it, have fun, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It really got me into motorcycling. And then, so it was like so I go and pick up my motorcycle, and actually I had to trailer it home. I was like too nervous to ride it from the dealership home. And also my wife really wasn't sold on the whole motorcycle idea yet. So it was like, I couldn't like just ride it home and then be like, I need you to give me a ride to go pick up my truck, because she was already pissed I was bringing home. So I had to go like get a trailer, and I actually had the dealership guy load it onto the trailer because I was just still so nervous about it. And I remember trailering it home and again doing some small rides, and then after a few months, I finally had gotten comfortable. Like I'd finally gotten comfortable to get on the highway, which out here, the speed limit's like 75. And so I had been riding, I don't know, probably most of summer at that point. Because I got the bike like early spring, early spring probably. And I started riding a lot. And then coming into fall, like October of that year, the dealership where I bought the bike was actually putting on a adventure fall group ride. Actually, there's some really cool parts of Colorado if you've never been out there. It's called through Paradox Valley. It's kind of on the backside of Moab. Super, super cool area. But in that, at that point I'd become friends with the guys at the dealership, and I'm like, you guys know my riding experience, etc. Again, I've done a whole video on this on my first group ride experience, and it was a total bummer, to be honest with you. After that day, it really crushed my riding, experience, and I was like, I'm just meant to ride by myself. Like, it really, honestly, if you live in Boulder, or if you've ever been to Boulder, Colorado, and you've ridden a bicycle out there, there's this whole idea of like the Boulder bro, and it's like everybody thinks they're Lance Armstrong and they're super fast and fun, and it's like if you go ride your gravel bike, it's like everybody's trying to compete, and it's never really just like, let's just cruise. Like, that's what it reminded me of. Like, it was like almost like a lot of people had something to prove, especially the guys leading the ride. And they knew that my skill sets were new. I had only been riding for like 5 or 6 months, and they told me it's totally beginner friendly. Anyways, if you want more about that initial experience, go check that video out. But it totally kind of like crushed my, motivation or momentum I had in riding, because I was really looking now to find people to go explore with and have fun with. And then that, like, it just kind of really ruined it for me. But I kept riding. And then I kept riding for about a year. Didn't do a lot of riding. I was still riding, because I'm was mostly riding by myself. So a lot of exploring locally. And then I decided, you know what, like, I'm going to sign up for a BDR. And I think this was probably the best thing that I did for my riding ability, because the BDRs were always like something that seemed so far out of reach, especially when I first rode that 1290 on the dirt. Actually, where we're at now, like when I'd ridden it up here, there's no way I would have taken it to where this point we are now. Like I was like just kind of turning around at the entrance in some early years. But to get back here is a little more technical, and there's no way I would have ridden back here now. And thinking about it now, like it's super easy. But again, because like I had signed up for the BDR, so there's a couple things. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm going to do a BDR with my friends or whatever, and then they can't because people they have lives and stuff comes up, and you can put things on the calendar, but people will find reasons not to commit, and then you never end up doing it. So shout out to Colorado Motorcycle Adventures, and I think I'll do a separate video about them and my whole experience with them, because I haven't done that, and now would be a good time to do it. If you're looking at like booking a tour with them, I can give you kind of my honest feedback with them. But I will say the best thing is that like signing up for it and paying for it with no refunds, right? Because it costs them a lot of money to put onto it. So I totally understand, but it made me have to show up. Like even leading up to it, I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Like I'm not sure I have the skills yet to do this. And I'd been practicing a lot, but it forced me to get on the bike a lot. And it really, really was probably the best thing I did for my motorcycle journey, because now I'm super excited. I'm actually going to do New Mexico with them next spring. So I'm really excited about that. I've signed up, I've got my deposit in. We're going to do the New Mexico BDR. I really want to do Idaho. I'm going to do Idaho at some point. I was hoping that they were going to do an Idaho trip, because then again, it would make it easier for me to get there. I could just sign up and I would be committed and like not have to rely on other people to make sure it happens. Anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. That was probably the best thing for my riding ability, because it forced me to practice. It forced me to get out here on the dirt. It forced me to get my skills ready. And then I did a whole series on the BDR. So if you want to talk about like just the learning experience there, and I was kind of on this trajectory of learning, and then like riding the BDR, it really just ramped my skills set up. I mean, coming out here now, there's stuff I never would have thought about riding on a big bike, but after doing the BDR, it completely made me so much more comfortable on the bike. And with the thing with the BDR is, like I've said many times, like 80% of it is just fast, flowy dirt roads. And having known that, I probably would have practiced that more, because it took some like getting used to, because I hadn't really done that. I was doing more technical stuff. But this is the ironic thing. I was practicing a lot on the technical stuff, and I still got my butt whipped and dropped my bike like 4 times on the most technical section of the Colorado BDR. Anyways, but yeah, that was probably the best thing for me. So if you're new to adventure riding, I think the best thing you can do is sign up with a group like Colorado Motorcycle Adventures, do one of their tours. It'll force you, you'll commit, you'll have money involved, and especially, they're not cheap. And so, if you have to save up for it, there's no excuses, right? You got to show up, you got to go. For me, that was the best thing, like having that deadline, knowing when I was going, and it was truly an amazing experience. And shout out to Colorado Motorcycle Adventures. So a little kind of a preview of how I felt about the tour, I guess. Give you that if you're watching this video. So in conclusion, and now with my journey now, I think that it was that moment of signing up with the BDR, actually riding with some truly amazing people. Shout out to Chip, shout out to Ash, like 2 of the best guides I've ridden with, like super cool guys, really good at riding, just super passionate about motorcycles. Like that experience with them and all the other guys on the trip, like not to leave any of them out, like the Mikes, there's 2 Mikes, Dwight also, like amazing dude. I can't remember everybody's name right offhand, but everybody that was there. Guy, he was another guy. Oh, they're going to slowly come to me, so I'm not going to waste any time. But basically, all the other guys that were on that group, the 10 other guys, I should say. I think there's 10 of us total, so 9. Shout out to them too, because they were truly amazing, and they really made the experience. And it was like so much fun to ride with just like a cool, like chill group of guys that want to go out and ride. And it's not like they're trying to prove that they're the best adventure rider out there and trying to rip wheelies and be like, oh, let's go do this gnarly track. Kind of like how it felt on my first group ride experience. So like that doing the BDR and being out there with those guys for 7 days, for a week, truly was the best thing I've done for motorcycling. And it just sparked this passion. Now we're building 0 Mile ADV clothing. So the 0 Mile clothing line, if you haven't, go there and check it out, 0mileadv.com. If you're watching this when this comes out, we don't have our clothes out yet. We're close. We have the tech packs. We're really close. We're getting our pre-production samples this month, that is kind of like our styling, all of our specs to actually go into production. So we should hopefully have them in the next 30 to 60 days. But if you're watching this at a later date after they're out, go there, check it out, support us. The best thing about it is we really want your feedback. I come from a technical background, and we're taking a technical approach to this. Like most really good software that's been developed, you get market or industry feedback, and so your customers kind of tell you the features and the specs that they want. So you solve the initial problem, and then you're like, hey, what else do you need? I want to take the same approach. So like, we need your feedback. So buy the clothes, give us your feedback. If it sucks and it's not good, we want to know so that we can make it better and help improve on the product. It really kind of change the game in motorcycle apparel and give you something that's really wearable off the bike, and it's not so bike oriented on the bike. Anyways, go check that out, zeromileav.com. I've also created a free BDR checklist. So if you're going to do a BDR this spring and you want to start looking through, make sure you have everything you need. Doesn't include camping gear, but everything else you should need, and like 4 things I think that are super, super important. Go check that out. Go download that for free. And with that, yeah, truly changed motorcycling has really changed my life, and I think for the better. I'm building a company, so hopefully something that has changed my life, now I can impact the lives of others. I can give people an amazing place to work, create an amazing product with an amazing community and people that feel part of the brand and feel like their voice is really heard and they're getting impact into how things are produced. And so yeah, with that, leave a comment below, subscribe, tell me what got you into riding. If you're new, why are you riding motorcycles? And until next time, stay safe out there.